Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel and thanks for logging on. If you enjoy these videos, do me a favor and subscribe to our YouTube channel right here at Watchbox Reviews. I'd really appreciate it, and I promise to update daily. If you love this watch, you could see it and purchase it on our website, thewatchbox.com. And today we are discussing a lovely early 1990s Omega Seamaster Professional Diver 300-meter chronograph, 41.5 millimeters in stainless steel. This is the classic Bond Seamaster, but with a chronograph complication. This is also one of the earliest examples with an original Omega factory tritium dial underneath service replacement Super Luminova hands. So this is a true survivor, and if you want to collect vintage Omegas from the 90s, a great and original way to start with this highly intact original. A timepiece that truly was original in the sense that it was inventive, designed to look like no prior Seamaster. The 1993 Diver 300 meter is still with us as of 2019 in design and form. On my 16 centimeter circumference wrist, it's an easy watch to wear. The 41.5 doesn't feel all that large by modern standards, though it is a thick watch at 16.5 millimeters. You'll also appreciate the fact that lug-to-lug it's fairly constrained, not too overbearing at 48.8 millimeters lug-to-lug, even when you add the solid end links, which sound imposing at 54.2 millimeters. Nevertheless, I can still recommend this watch as it is on the bracelet for a wrist as small as 14.5 centimeters circumference. On a strap, you could wear it on 14. The spacing between the lugs is 20 millimeters, so that's a universal size. If you do want to put it on a strap, you're going to have infinite options in that popular size. 20 millimeters basically is the works if you want to accessorize with straps. The factory bracelet, however, is a bit of an icon in its own right. Somewhere between a dress and a sports bracelet, it's always been a bit of a hybrid. Now you can see the early examples had edges that rolled off a little bit, giving them a bit more of a refined dress aesthetic, but you do have solidity and physical integrity to make this appropriate for sporting use. Also plenty of gaps. You can see the daylight, avoiding the pinching skin, the pulling of hair, or the trapping of wrist heat. And you have staggered link size, staggered link alignment, and a few polished accents. Again, the watch has a little bit of an air of a dress bracelet to it. The removable links are fixed with pin sleeves, so you will need a punch and a block to size, but they are very secure once in place. You don't have to worry about them coming loose, so they're a bit more confidence inspiring once the bracelet's sized than screws would be. This is the clasp that forced Rolex to rethink its clasp quality. Machined from a solid, and you can see this one minimally, if ever refinished. The first thing to go with these over time is the definition of the engravings when they're refinished, and you can see these look as good as the day the watch left Bezel back in 1993-1994. You'll also appreciate that the twin trigger system was secure then and still secure today with machined single swing arm deployant, and then you have a single swing arm fold out dive extension that it is also machined from the solid and thus very confidence-inspiring, designed to a higher standard than what Rolex was doing at the time. Rolex was stamping its clasps and its fold-outs, and frankly, these age better and they still feel contemporary. The Rolex feels like an antique. The case form is simple and familiar. Lyre-style lugs, they turn inward and they turn outward with their outward bevels nicely polished. They run through the mid-case, all of polished. The mid-case itself featuring a linear satin grain. The helium escape valve for saturation divers is there to release helium that might accumulate in the watch during a dive so that the helium does not eject the crystals or the seals. The bezel here is not the anodized aluminum insert you get on the standard Diver 300 meter. This one features a polished cap that is metal with blue lacquer inlays, dark navy blue inlays, and again, you can't fake this. The lacquer is all still in place. All of the marks are dark and full, and there's no evacuation or wear of that original lacquer inside the bezel. The bezel action itself is crisp, a bit difficult to grip because of the shallow knurling. Nevertheless, the detent is satisfying. Take a listen. A dive bezel can make or break a dive watch. This one feels and sounds good. Line up the luminescent index by day with the minute hand, and the bezel, which is the original tritium pearl and the original early 90s bezel, will allow you to time by day a 60-minute interval using the James Bond style skeleton hands. Make note, the dial itself as well as the bezel are original to the watch, and thus they are faded tritium. Only the hands of the watch loom. The dial base itself is the now famous Omega Wave matte blue pattern. Polished chapter rings for the sub-registers, which feature a darker blue and a concentric snailing, and then you've got all of the advertising: Omega Seamaster Professional Grade, 300 meters water resistant, and a COSC certified Swiss chronometer. Crown guard structures, and I should say Shoulders for the chronograph pushers because they're not screw-down pushers. These are just braces to protect against shearing and wobbling. As you actuate the chronograph, you can access it immediately without unscrewing the pushers. Valjoux 7750 here in chronometer spec, doing business as the Omega caliber 1154, 25 joules automatic winding, 44-hour power reserve, 28,800 vibration per hour beat rate, stop seconds, and a quick set date. Of course, it is a COSC certified Swiss chronometer. It is very, very tough, and again, water resistant to 300 meters with the helium escape valve should you need it. A tank tough watch from a classic era of Omega design and one of the comeback models that helped to make Omega as we know it the watch company it is today. Own a piece of Omega history and a very usable piece of history on thewatchbox.com. And we're back with the Omega Seamaster Chronograph. You can see the Luminova hands and the fast fading tritium indices. So the watch is usable at night, but the tritium dial and bezel are intact.